We're back and continuing our conversation on investment strategies for uncertain times. And we're joined by Steve Delott, one of the investment strategists who's been in this field for over 40 years. And what we're talking about is the world economy and some of the shifts that are happening. And Steve, before we went to break, you were talking to us about this new currency. Can you pick up where you left off?
Sure. Anyway, this new currency, the special drawing rights, or SDRs, as they may be referred to, it's going to be a combination. It's no longer the dollar dominates the world. There's going to be a basket of 5 or 6. There's going to be a combination of about 5 or 6 countries. They have to have a certain percentage of their money backed by gold. And when we trade here in the United States, just between ourselves and the United States, we still use the dollar. Mm-hmm. But if the world trades with each other, they have to convert their currency to this new special drawing rights. So we don't see the currency ourselves, but as we trade worldwide, everybody has to trade into this new world currency. And
who's facilitating this? Is this the IMF who's facilitating this currency exchange?
The International Monetary Exchange. They first of all, it was a few years ago. They met secretly, and at that time, the United States didn't even know that they were meeting to discuss this. Now,
so the United States is not involved in it. The United States is not a part of it.
They weren't in the initial secret meetings, but now they're involved because they're picking 5 or 6 currencies, and the United States will be one of the currencies.
Okay.
So that's going to really hurt our dollar, and what makes it bad is we cannot just continue to print money like we're doing right now because we're not the world currency anymore. And that's where the problem is.
Got it.
See, right now we need more money. They do quantitative easing or whatever you'd like to call it, QE2, QE3. They just keep printing more money, and they think it seems to solve their problems. But the reason that this is a real issue to be concerned with is this next collapse. I call it the avalanche. It's not one thing that's going to destroy the currency. It's a combination. So let's just pretend like you have a potential avalanche, and every time a snowflake comes on, it just makes the ground a little more shaky, a little more uncertain. So the first avalanche we had was in 1998. You may recall there was a $100 billion hedge fund. It was called Long-Term Capital Management. Mm-hmm. And it almost imploded the markets. So things were, that was huge back then. And so the banks bailed them out, so we wouldn't ruin our economy. The second avalanche happened in that 2008 crisis that I know you recall that because everybody on the phone recalls it. We lost $11 trillion in the household wealth. It was wiped out in a matter of weeks. That was the second avalanche, but people think the collapse, the meltdown in 2008 was due to the housing crisis. That was just the final snowdrop that imploded what we saw in 2008. Because there were a lot of other things even worse than the housing, which was excessive use of our debt, derivatives. We had $200 trillion of derivatives that we couldn't do anything about, and the banking system was going out of business. So what happened is the Federal Reserve had to bail out the banks. And they said, we can't let these banks fail. They're too big to fail. Well, now the problem is the four biggest banks are today, the four biggest banks are 30% larger than they were 5 years ago. The five largest banks now hold half of the world banking assets in the United States. The derivatives, which I think was the main, Warren Buffett calls derivatives weapons of mass destruction. And it's now worth more than $700 trillion. In 2007, we held $200 trillion of derivatives, which is, like
right.
Warren said, mass destruction. Today,
yes.
we have $700 trillion. It's 10 times bigger than our entire world economy. So we can't even print money fast enough to cover this next avalanche, which some people say they're looking for it to happen sometime later in 2015. Some say they're looking for it to happen in 2016. Well,
okay, so now all of the listeners are kind of sitting here with bated breath. We're all holding our breath and nervous now. You've gotten us worked up, and I need to switch this out for a moment, Steve. So when we come back, you're going to give us some strategies, things we might be thinking about, things that we might pay attention to in order to be prepared for what seems to be, shifting in our economy and what some of the potential implications are for us. So let's switch gears for just a few minutes, and while we're at commercial break, please visit our website, www.DeettaJones.com, or hit us up on Twitter, @DeettaMJones, @Richard_Dent95. We'll be right back.
Success starts here. VoiceAmericaEmpowerment.com. It's your world.
Deetta Jones has been delivering expert guidance through her speaking, consulting, and writing on leadership, management, and cultural diversity for more than 20 years. Her engaging style and infectious laugh combines with mastery of personal effectiveness tools and cutting-edge research. She is diplomatic, yet direct, and concept-based, yet practical in her approach. If you are looking for a high-powered speaker for your next conference, consider Deetta Jones your ace in the hole. Call her at 312-870-9596 or visit her website at DeettaJones.com. Richard Dent, a cornerstone of the Bears' overwhelming defense during their Super Bowl run and a 2011 inductee into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, was an 8th-round draft pick out of tiny Tennessee State in 1983. The tall and skinny rookie wound up with a brilliant 15-year football career. Dent's fascinating story takes you behind the scenes of one of the fiercest, most dominant defenses in NFL history. Blood, Sweat, and Bears hits hard, just like its Hall of Fame author. Buy it now on Amazon or download it to Kindle.
Your favorite Voice America Talk Radio Network shows and hosts are in your car, outdoors, and wherever you need them to be. Listen anywhere. Get our mobile app for iPhone, BlackBerry, or Android at the Apple iTunes App Store, BlackBerry App World, or Android Market.
Friend us on Facebook to keep up with what's empowering the world. Voice America Empowerment.
You are listening to DJ and DeBear, keeping you at the top of your game. To reach the show today, please call in to 1-888-346-9141. That number again is 1-888-346-9141. You may also send an email to djones@DeettaJones.com. Now, back to the show.
We're back and continuing our conversation on investment strategies for uncertain times with Steve Delott. Steve, before we went to our last break, you were talking about the level of debt in the United States, what some of the implications are at the international level. You were talking about the famous weapons of mass destruction, as Warren Buffett calls them, the derivatives. Talk to us a little bit more about what does all of this mean for us, help us get our mind around what are the implications of this substantial debt that we have in the world economy. And then we, of course, want you to give us some ideas about, solutions or strategies or ways that the listeners might be able to kind of weather what is inevitable at this point.
Okay. Yeah. Let me just say, before I just finish up on some of these implications, there are solutions to these problems. Unfortunately, most people will get caught up in it and do nothing, just continue to do as they are. And there will be some people that will protect themselves so they will make money during this next avalanche when that occurs. I think it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when they will occur. And, I see, this reminds me of when Greenspan, the Federal Reserve Chairman, back in 1998, 99, he said, we're buying, like all these tech stocks that were losing money and they were going sky high. He said, this is an example of irrational exuberance. And now that the market keeps going up and up, I'm thinking the same thing Greenspan's thinking. Well, here we go again. They forgot what happened a few years ago, and now there's some more rational exuberance. And
it seems like this is also an opportunity for us to learn lessons from other countries, right? This is not unique to the United States. There are other countries that have also, experienced hyperinflation and their monetary system just collapsing beneath them. And it seems like we've watched the fallout of some of that, kind of the internal turmoil, there are some Latin American countries, for example, where it just went upside down financially, and it seems like we would pay attention to that, and that we would protect ourselves from going along some of those paths. Is it similar? Is what's happening here in the United States similar to what has happened in some other countries? Is there any other lessons learned?
Unfortunately, there's lessons not learned. We're all doing the same thing, only at an accelerated pace. Greece is part of the euro, and Greece is broke, and they're threatening to just wipe out all their debt and get out of the euro. Well, if that does happen, because they don't want any further austerity programs, if that happens, Italy is broke, Portugal's broke, Spain is broke, there's a lot of, Ireland is broke, there's a lot of countries that it's going to have a domino effect, which is obviously going to have an effect with us in this country because, we're international, we're all global. There's things that are geopolitical that I didn't even mention. That the ISIS and all this madness going around in the entire Mideast, and these radicals they're basically declaring a war on Christians now all over the world. I
was going to ask you about that. Right, and that's what I mean. That part of that we have this, kind of external positioning that is really fractured with many other parts of the world. We have internal fracturing that's going on. You turn on the news any day of the week and you can see how many, how much discord there is even within the United States, with whether it's, with the racial tensions or socioeconomic divide, the growing inequality, the gulf as far as the inequality socioeconomically speaking, the fact that our political leaders cannot get on the same page. So all of these things, to me, seem like they are absolutely connected with this larger economic conversation that we're having. As we look around the world, all of these things just, to me, are kind of symptoms of the vulnerability that we have related to our economic situation.
That's right. It could be one of those snowflakes that trigger the next avalanche. If the avalanche is ready to come sliding down the mountain, it's just which one of these snowflakes is going to be the one to do it.